Actually, I really enjoyed today. I mean, you whinging getting there at 8 o'clock. We're up at about 3:30, thank you, Stefan. But actually, I thought today was really worth it because it was like a modern, traditional Test match day, if you like. With that first session of wonderful, positive batting by India. 129 runs in those 30 overs. England didn't get a wicket. Then, of course, we're talking about Ben Stokes and the heroics of him coming back and getting a wicket first ball and everything else like he was almost inevitably going to do. And wickets fell, and so suddenly you're into that sort of old-fashioned, traditional mode of Test cricket for a while. I mean, just rebuild and shore up your position. And then wickets sort of fell towards the day. But all the time, you knew, of course, that England had just messed up yesterday and that India were going to get into a very strong position. So they lead by 255. They're 473 for 8. Tuffers, what did you make of that first session? It looked horribly ominous from an England perspective, but some beautiful batting in it.
Absolutely. As you're saying, if you're going to be getting up at 4 o'clock to watch anyone bat, I suppose, as a spin bowler and as a bowler, you don't mind watching Rohit Sharma and Shubman Gill bat, do you? I mean, they're just so elegant, graceful, poised. Nothing seems to rush them. Nothing seems to bother them, does they? They just sort of go about their business. And it's not just sort of like knocking it around either, is it? You know, there's some fantastic shots there. Shubman Gill coming down the pitch to Jimmy Anderson and sixes and all these kind of things. But no, it really was a wonderful partnership. And I think that England must take a leaf out of the Indian batting lineup and the way they go about building partnerships. You know, it really does get you down in the field. You can't see a way through. And so, as the day wore on, I think England stuck to their task well, and especially the young, inexperienced spinners, because your head can drop. You know, you've got to keep your body language going. You've got to keep, your desire and your enthusiasm almost, because you just don't see where the next wicket's coming. So, yeah, I agree with you. I thought it was a great day of cricket, and just as well England did get some of the rewards for their hard work at the end. Otherwise, crikey, I mean, it's still a mountain to climb, talking about the Himalayas and everything. But yes. It's going to be tough for England, but they stuck to their task. There was a little bit of a feel of, last Test match, series gone in that first session, but then they came back well.
Yeah, I felt a bit for those two young spinners, Jack. It'd be interesting to get your view of them, because it just felt like, especially when Rohit and Gill were going, as if actually they are inexperienced, aren't they? I mean, they've hardly played any first-class cricket, let alone a Test match against players of that quality. But I think that they're both going to emerge from this tour with heads held high, aren't they?
Yeah, I mean, they can take a lot of confidence from what they've done. I think about the amount of cricket I had behind me in first-class cricket and on some spinning wickets at Taunton as well before going to places like the subcontinent with England, which really probably helped me kind of deal with the different situations and the different pressures of it. So it's credit to them, how they've gone about it, and also credit to Stokesy and how he's probably managed them as well. So, they've done a really good job, and it was nice to see them get some rewards towards the end of the day for that.
Yeah, they both got some character. I mean, go back to that first Test one that you did play in. It's a quite challenging field Stokes set, particularly for Hartley, who got punished. But he came back from that. I mean, and I think Stokes obviously looked at what he'd done and thought, hang on a minute, he's got to have some protection here. I mean, he really did try and squeeze, didn't he? So it's been a bit of a learning curve for everybody, I think. Yeah,
no, in that first Test, I think we sat, me and Stokesy, after the first innings and talked about the second innings, and went through some fields and stuff, and he definitely was leaning towards maybe being a little bit more having your guys on the boundary. They're not necessarily negative options. If you've got your catchers in as well, and you actually on those kind of wickets want people defending as much as possible, brings in the catchers around the bat and different dismissals. So I guess they don't see, if there's no deep mid wicket, for example, when the ball's spinning in, they don't see that as a risk to hit it over there. So I think there's a lot of learning that happens on these kind of tours from a tactical point of view and from a skills point of view.
Yeah,
Jack, sorry, John. Can I just ask, Jack, how does Stokes, as you say, you sort of talked about it there, but you're talking about Ben's captaincy, and we've all been very impressed with it, the way he's sort of like handled the spin bowlers. How does he actually go about that? Is that with Brendan, and is that with Cheaton as well, or is it what used to be in the bar in my day, but over a pint talking about fields and what have you? But then how does he actually then sort of like talk to the spin bowlers about how that session went or what we're going to do the next day?
One of his strengths is he's not afraid to chuck the spin of the ball when maybe they've had a tough time beforehand, and I think that's really powerful thing for a spinner. When you've gone around the park and then it feels like the captain's maybe wary of bowling you, and then that affects your confidence as a spinner. So that's one thing he does. I think in England what he was really good at is making batters make mistakes to spin and with his fields, and that was more attacking fields and saying, all right, go on, take a risk. Whereas I think in places like India it's maybe a more of a patience game and a more of a kind of slow burner where if it's before a break you might get in the batsman's head with attacking fields, but otherwise it's kind of building it up, I guess, and creating that mistake in other ways.
They hit sixes these days. I think it's been about 100 sixes in this series already. I mean, that's tough. That's very different to when when you were bowling, wasn't it? To be fair, how do you see that, Jack? Do you see them hitting you for sixes? Oh well, it's gone for six. You kind of sort of shrug it off, or is it something that sort of dents your confidence a bit, or are you happy to see them playing often a bit of a cross-batted shot? But I mean, the fact that it flies out the ground, is that like a negative thing, or can you think, well, okay, it's taking a bit of a chance?
Yeah. Well, there's been a few times where I've seen the ball going for six, turned round to look around, and as I'm looking at the ball going for six, I'm looking at Stokes, he's smiling and clapping and laughing and loving it. So I think that's something that he's really encouraged is, there's obviously certain shots that you don't mind seeing on certain wickets, and I guess it's about working out those things and understanding that guys are going to play good shots, and as long as it's to your field and what you're trying to do, then you've got to go with that and keep trying to put as much energy on the ball as possible.
Yeah. Stefan, what's it like around there at the moment? I mean, I'll be honest, I've done a lot of tours, and particularly on the subcontinent, when the series is gone, there just does seem to be a bit of an end of tour feel about things, and I mean, I know players would absolutely hate saying that, but they've been away a long time and you lost and all that. Yesterday looked like one of those days.
Yeah, I think the way England have come back, because obviously there was a break, wasn't there, after that fourth test when they knew that the series was lost. They had their little break where some went to Chandigarh, some went to Bangalore to play golf. But the training that I saw the 2 days leading up to this test match still had all the intensity that you would expect from England. We know actually that they're fierce trainers under Stokes and McCullum. It's a bit of a non-negotiable. The thing that I took out of the first 4 sessions of this game, because England certainly did fight back with a lot of spirit in the second and third sessions today, was just how difficult it is to play 5 test matches in India, because we talk about so often, don't we, in a 5 test series you come up against the same bowlers who've worked you out, who know the chinks in your armour, the little errors in your technique, and for the first time yesterday it felt to me like India were applying the pressure of the previous 4 test matches of knowledge that they've accrued about this England team, particularly when Kuldeep was bowling and he outthought that engine room of a middle order, Bairstow, Stokes and Root. I know Root was out to Jadeja, but Kuldeep was going through those variations, and it just looked like England had come unstuck at the end of a long tour when they'd competed really, really hard for 4 test matches. They were really under the pump this morning when Rowett and Gill came after them. Rowett was getting after Bashir in the 3rd over with his 6. Gill got after Anderson in the 4th over with his 6. But then it all changed at lunchtime, and it was just that moment of theatre when Ben Stokes was out warming up. He's been teasing us for 2 test matches really about this return to bowling. I'm not sure if we can ever trust him. In the summer he told us he wasn't going to play in the World Cup, and he did. Yes. He told us he wasn't going to bowl on this tour, and now he has. He grabbed the ball, and it was you knew he was going to knock over Rowett's off stump with that first delivery. It was just a very Ben Stokes thing to do. He barely celebrated. But in the next over, when Anderson got Gill, England were really pumped, and you thought just for the first time, maybe they have got a chance here. Sarfraz and Padikal snuffed it out, but then in the evening session, Bashir came back really well. I think he bowled 23 overs, 1 for 111 at the beginning of his spell, but in his second spell, he's currently 21 overs, 1 made and 3 for 59, entrusted with the second new ball, dovetailed with Hartley really well, and if it wasn't for Kuldeep and Bumrah, England would have been batting tonight. Now, whether they would have wanted to bat tonight, I think that's a different story.
Yes,
but the way England fought after lunch and then again after tea, it did show that spirit is still there, and when Stokes says they're not thinking about getting on the plane, well, maybe there's something in it.
Yeah. Has Shoaib Bashir surprised you, Jack? I don't know how much you've seen of him.
Yeah, I've seen quite a lot of him, and to be honest, no. I was very impressed from him from as soon as I'd seen him play, and that was back a couple of years ago in the second team. He's got all the kind of skills and big hands, tall, and yeah, he's been impressive ever since then, really. So, no, not surprised.
Yeah, and he's got a bit of a glint in his eye too, isn't he? I mean, he looks
those eyes yesterday when he got Caswell out.
Yes,
I couldn't believe it. Yeah, so I'm a bit scared of him now, to be honest.
I think so. He has got a bit of an eye.
The thing is, Jack, just say he's huge, isn't he? When you stand close to him, he is so tall. You don't realise it when you see him from a distance, but him and Hartley are such tall men, and I'm interviewing them both on this tour and having to really look up to them when they're answering the questions. And it goes back to, doesn't it, those attributes, I guess, that Ben Stokes and Brendan McCullum saw in them.
Yep.
Bashir even spotted bowling on Twitter.
Toughers, do you remember 1986?
Just.
Ian Botham coming back after a suspension.
Yes, I do.
Yeah.
That's what New Zealand, wasn't it?
First ball, Bruce Edgar nicked. It wasn't a great ball. It wasn't nearly as good as Stokes is today. But no. I mean, somehow people like him and Stokes, they just got something, haven't they? They just make things happen.
Absolutely, and it's very similar to Beefy in that sort of way. It's that all-rounders sort of trait, isn't it? Whether it's with bat, ball, or in the field. Beefy was exactly the same in the field, pulling off those fantastic catches, making things happen. And I did just have a smile to myself when he knocked his off pole out the ground, because you're right. You sort of knew something was going to happen, didn't you? And for it to happen first ball, I think that everyone was having a bit of a chuckle on the field. I even saw sort of Brendan McCullum sort of put his sort of head in his hands and have a little chuckle. It's just a mark of the man and the sort of the qualities he has.
Yeah. Right, Stefan, you've been speaking. We had Marcus Trescothick. You can always tell when things aren't going very well because the coaches get pushed out to go face the media. Marcus yesterday, Jeetan Patel today, the spin bowling coach. Let's hear what he said to you.
Jeetan Patel, thanks for talking to the TMS podcast. Just sum up the match situation at the end of that second day.
Oh, look, a hard day's graph for us. I mean, yesterday didn't work out for us in terms of how the day played out. They put on a great partnership this morning, and that bled into the afternoon. But for us to stick at it like we did, I think the yards the guys put in certainly showed in that last session. We got our rewards, and have them 8 down, great effort on a wicket that didn't offer as much as we thought it might. But look, another day of cricket tomorrow, and that's what we're going to look forward to.
They did really come hard at you in that morning session, didn't they? Yeah,
they did. They put it back on us, and it's great. It's great to be in a battle where both teams are willing to put the pressure on the opposition. And I think what we ended up doing was soaking it up and then throwing it back on them, and that showed in that last session when we got those 5 wickets. And tomorrow's another, as I said before, another huge opportunity to keep stamping the way we want to play cricket, and the way we want to keep pushing this game forward.
What was said during the lunch break, because the skipper was out here getting loose?
No, I think it was just getting to a point where, he was always going to bowl at some point in this series. Well, not always, sorry, but towards the back end he started feeling good about his body. So it was an opportunity for him to have a go. And, I mean, it's just such a true story, and it was always going to happen that Ben Stokes was going to take a wiggle with a Jaffa with his first ball.
What was the reaction? Because it was a moment of theatre, wasn't it?
Well, to be fair, there was a lot of laughter. I mean, it's one of those things. He's been working hard on his body and trying to get as fit as he can. He bowled a good 4-over spell this morning at warm-ups, which I thought was a bit too much, but that's Ben Stokes. He never says no to hard work, and then bowled a great 5-over spell there. And it just shows how it rounds our attack out when we can have Stokesy back. And eventually he'll get to full fitness, but it's going to be one of those slow roads.
I think it was the 62nd over when he came on. Could he come on a bit sooner?
Oh, look, I don't know. I mean, we all know what Stokes is like. He's always going to give the opportunity to the guys that are there first and picked to do a job. And look, if he's going to take a wicket with every first ball, then he should bowl every over, right? I mean, that's simple as that. But as I said before, we've got to be careful with his body. He's got to be careful with his body. It hasn't been that long since his operation, and we've got to make sure that he's still fit come the summer.
Let's talk about the spinners. Shoaib Bashir was put under pressure early in his spell, but he was entrusted with the second new ball and came back really strong in the evening session.
Oh, look, the guy's so talented. He loves the game and he loves having fun with his mates out there. Him and Hartley, I thought, were fabulous today. And the last Test match, I thought they could have been. We spoke about a few skill things that they could have got better at, and they showed them off today. And that's what you want out of young kids, that are willing to learn every week and then put in shifts for the boys. And those spells, those overs they bowled today, they will go a long way in their career in terms of their learning.
Brendan spoke after the last test about how he'd like to see them have opportunities to play county cricket this coming summer. You've obviously played lots of county cricket. What do you make of this debate with obviously Nathan at Lancashire and Shoaib maybe being behind Jack at Somerset?
Look, I don't really know, man. I mean, right now we're trying to get into this Test match. The county season starts, it's April. The teams might not even play spinners, so it's probably too far away to start talking about. But it would be nice to see these guys play more, get more opportunities. Just basically bowl. Let's get these overs up in these kids, because they've obviously got something to offer, bowling against some of the best players in their own country and taking wickets and creating pressure. So they've got something to offer England, but we want to keep pushing that and keep advancing their learning. And it might mean that I just have to do a bit more work, that's all.
That's what's going. Does your work continue with them even when they're not with the England squad?
Of course it does. I'm not the sort of bloke that's going to leave them in the lurch. They've got jobs to do for their counties, and they'll look like different jobs. But it's another learning for them to then grow again, and hopefully their skills in a year's time, 2 years' time, are better than they are now.
Let's bring it back to this game and look ahead to tomorrow for me.
Yeah, well, I mean, first hour's important again. Every first hour's important. Get these 2 wickets and set up some big partnerships. And I think that's the one thing that the guys will be talking about there, is how they're going to work together as a batting unit to get some big partnerships together and then put pressure back on India. And Test cricket's a bit like that, isn't it? You've got to soak it up. And we had to soak it up this morning. And tomorrow may be an opportunity for us to throw it back at them.
Still win this game?
Oh, well, why not? I don't see why not. It's just going to take a bit of work, that's all.
Cheers, Jeetan.
No worries.
There we go, Jeetan Patel talking to Stefan. Last word from you, Stefan. Does it feel as if England can at least see tomorrow out?
Yeah, I think the minimum requirement, isn't it, to bat tomorrow, to make India bat again, to drag it in to that 4th day, to take something out of this last Test match. Look, everyone would have liked this to have been a decider. England might think that they had their chances to force that. Ben Stokes has talked a lot about the progress that England have made on this tour. I think at 3-2 the argument there would have been really strong. At 4-1 it's much harder. Now it's about what England do over the last 2 days of this game, because then when Stokes and McCullum do talk of progress, they'll have a little bit more to back that up.
Jack and Tuffers, how good are Ravi Ashwin, Kuldeep Yadav and Ravindra Jadeja? I'm going to show my age here because I'm allowed to, because I'm in charge loosely. I mean, India have always had these, not just a couple, but often 3 or 4 spinners who have won series in India. I mean, I can go back to Bedi, Venkat Prasanna, Chandrasekhar. Remember he had polio as a kid. I mean, it was extraordinary action, a mystery wrist spinner. Tuffers, Kumble, Raju, Chauhan, who bowled you out in
dismantled us
1993. It's such a hard thing. Jack, have you seen Bisham Bedi bowling on YouTube for a left arm spinner? I mean, it was just such a beautiful WD-40 type, beautiful loose.
Yeah, it was, and I have seen it, and I think we had Murali Kartik at Somerset, and he had that sort of loose classical action as well. And I remember someone telling me to look at Bisham Bedi, and I always walk past Bisham Beddy's portrait at Lord's, and I remember watching his action and just thinking, wow, that is so nice.
He was quite fiery sometimes, Bishop. I worked with him on the radio. He was a lovely character, but
he was a flight and guile bowler, wasn't he,
ever?
Bishop? Yeah, I mean, perhaps the sort of styles have slightly changed since there, but he really was a kind of go on, and if you're going to hit that one, have a little go at hitting that next one, which is a bit slower and a little bit wider or something like that. I think you're right, though, John. I mean, you just look at the numbers of Ashwin.
Yes.
Look at the numbers of Jadeja.
Ashwin's 500, Kuldeep 46, Jadeja getting on for 300 wickets. He's averaging 24, Kuldeep 21, Ashwin 23. They're very, very good figures.
Absolutely, and Kuldeep now is sort of like coming into his own a little bit. He's put on a few extra miles an hour onto his delivery, and is really sort of causing problems. I think you're right. I think that this three, for the different styles, you've got a left-arm orthodox who's really good at running that one onto your pad and also can spin it, bowls at great pace, can sort of, get a bit of up and down on it, but a great sort of bowler to keep you penned into a crease. You've got an Ashwin with all the tricks, the carom ball, the over the round the wicket, 500 test wickets of experience, sort of teasing you outside that off stump and what have you. And then now, just to put the cherry on the cake, you've got that bit of sort of mystery left arm wrist spinner. I mean, crikey, you've got the whole basket of spin bowlers there almost, just to sort of find which one or which pair sort of suit. And so there's lots of different avenues you can go down as a skipper, and one of them's going to be having a good day, one of them's going to have the right pace for a certain wicket, and if you get two or three that are on, well, there's no real way or where to go as a batting lineup, because you're just, none of them bowl long hops, none of them bowl full tosses. They're all very accurate, and they've all got different strings to their bow. So absolute nightmare to bat. You're under the cosh every minute.
Yeah, take us out to the middle, Jack. What's it like batting against them?
Well, you don't want to ask me. But I'd just say how nice it is to see a wrist spinner doing well in India, because I think sort of leading into this series, maybe thinking back to the last series where the wickets were maybe not very good and Axar Patel was so effective, and it was kind of those wickets where you fire it in and it felt like finger spin was maybe the way to go, whereas we've seen a different side of Indian wickets this time. Obviously they do spin as the game goes on, but there's still that chance for wrist spinners to get into the game. And I think his accuracy, and actually Rayan when he played as well, I think wrist spinners are sort of maybe known for not being as consistent, but those two have actually been very consistent with their line and length, and that's really good, because I think it's hard for wrist spinners, especially in England, to get into county cricket, because captains want accuracy and consistency, and but it is very special when you see, obviously, the greatest spinner ever, Shane Warne, was a wrist spinner, and it feels like it's a bit of a dying art at times and more in the white ball game, but it's really good to see him bowling so well.
What's it like? Because it's not often that you, for instance, will get to bowl with two other spinners as well in the same side, and even three with if you include Root as well. I mean, is that a sort of a different environment for you? Because on the one hand, you haven't got to do it all yourself, but then how it sort of mixes and matches with the three or four of you.
Yeah, it is weird, especially as like a opposition team. I guess they'll be used to it, and probably Ashwin and Jadeja know they're always going to be playing together in India, and then there's probably one more on top of that, and obviously Kuldeep's grabbed that at the moment. And then for us, it's weird because we're used to playing in teams where there's one spinner, maybe none. So it takes a bit of getting used to, I guess. And I think Woody said after the first test, I found it weird not having anyone to talk to out in the middle about seam, because he's used to having three or four of them.
Yes.
And I was like, well, welcome to our world. Like
yes, exactly.
We were always just sort of like thinking to ourselves, what the hell do we do here? But so I think it does just switch around a bit. But that's where you've just got to work together to get the job done.
And what this will do, Jack, as a last thought, it's Pakistan in October, November, isn't it?
Yeah.
A bit of an unknown when we were there last year, but more known now. I mean, actually, whatever happens in this match, actually, surely England will be better prepared to. I know we won 3-0 last time, but in terms of, I'm only talking about spinning. For the spinning department, suddenly it does feel as if England have got more in the locker now.
Yeah, exactly, and that's where these series there are some good things to come from them, and that's definitely one of them, and I think we'll be well placed for that in terms of in the spin department. So I might struggle to get a game actually. So
you'll be there.
Yeah, but we'll have to wait and see. But no, it's good.